my passion for SAHA has not changed. The life circumstances in which I could support it did. Just being a solo founder, that's the pros and cons of it, right? Like I think you guys are all in a very similar position in that you are supporting, like when life happens, it means that the rest of it kind of gets put on pause. So now full time on SAHA, and I'm super excited about it. So I wanted to kind of go over a couple of things. So I've pivoted slightly how we're going to build. And I say that because basically the way that initially, and I think a lot of you were on the calls where I walked you through the designs that I had built out, the idea was to build the software from scratch entirely, which I still feel very passionate about is the end goal. But the when I got quotes, and this is also, it's just in the spirit of transparency, it was a minimum of $150,000 to bring this to life. I am a two-time immigrant. I don't have that kind of money. I don't have a trust fund, and raising capital is really messy. And I'm happy to walk, if anyone has questions about like why I'm not going down the venture capital route or the angel funding route, I'm more than happy to walk you through that. But it's, I really want to be intentional about who I bring into this and how it's built, and that it is values-based and not like primarily for profit. I don't think that's the right way to go about this. I think it's important to like be very intentional about what and how we're building. So I'm using my savings is the short version of it to build this. And what that means is I'm not going to be building from scratch. I'm going to use existing systems, and I'll walk through what that means to kind of build it. The end experience is going to be the same for both you and the clients in terms of like the systems that you will have to support you. But it just means that I'm not building it with a developer from scratch. It's just people who have done this for other systems, like for different applications. Any kind of questions or comments on that one? No? Okay. And then I'll go through like what the options are right now that I'm considering, and I'm hoping to make a decision in the next couple of weeks. So I really want your feedback on like the companies and the types of systems and what they could look like and what the costs of those are. And then I'm going to walk you through kind of what the plans are for how we get live and what that looks like. Thank you. Yeah, the living in SF, I'm sure you're very familiar with how VCs work, and that's a whole conversation. Cool. So this is what I'm looking at, and this is really where I want a lot of your feedback. So right now, the matchmaking is going to say effectively the same in terms of living on the website, the inputs, everything like that's going to be the same. It's going to result in the results page. Basically what's going to happen instead of the link going to your existing booking systems, it's going to go to your profile page on SAHA and or to the individual booking pages. So on the website for SAHA itself is going to be the provider directory. So it's a list of all of the providers and the ability for the users to filter and search, and we'll have matchmaking as well. So we'll have those two pieces, and we will also have the provider profile pages. So that's more detailed breakdown. Like a lot of those Instagram lives that we've done, those recordings, I want to include video content and photos that you might have, because I think it's really important for the users to get a feel for who you are as an individual before they book. So that'll all be a part of the profile pages. The designs that you may have seen last year in terms of what those, what the filtering and search and the profile provider pages, we're basing what we're building on that, except it's going to be on the existing website instead of building a brand new one. And then we're going to use third-party systems to actually do the booking, the payment, the like telehealth, all of that will be HIPAA compliant. That will be through third-party systems, and I'll walk you through the options for what that looks like. But this is kind of the high-level structure of the plan and what that means. It could be a website, it could be a mobile application. It might be a mixture of both, depending on which solution we end up going forward with. But I wanted to throw this at you and see if you had thoughts, if you had any questions before I jump to like what those options for those third-party booking systems are right now. Smiles and nods. Okay, great. So I've done a lot of research on different solutions. I want to make sure that that you understand what at a baseline where I'm making sure we're including, and then there's like could be extra like nice shiny cherry on top situations. But I want to make sure that the selectable availability so that someone can see your availability and book right away. They don't have to reach out to you and then you guys have to go back and forth on like when you're available. You will set like, hey, these are my calendar slots, and somebody can go and book them. If you are booked up, I'm going to look at a functionality that allows for a wait list, right? If you don't want to take additional clients, or there will be the ability to, they have to fill out, I know for some providers, you want a level of commitment that requires them to fill out a form first before they actually book with you. So we will still have all of that available. All of the basics in terms of appointment reminders, calendar invites, all of the details that we can set up in that, I'm making sure that we can do that. I'm also working on making sure that the systems we're looking at, hopefully, will check against your calendar availability. So whatever email you sign up with, it will check against the calendar of that email to see if those, and automatically block slots that are blocked. I'm really trying, apparently that's more complicated than I think it should be, but like, you know, we're working on it. Things like secure messaging. So secure, like having that HIPAA compliant messaging with the end user. I know for some of you, this isn't relevant, but I wanted to set a high bar so that we have like, it's more applicable for more users, and more security is more better, right? There's not really a downside in that. Same thing with video chatting for telehealth, et cetera, making sure that's all in there. Intake forms and waivers. That is a really important part, because I know some of you have very specific, like for Taryn, for breath work, like you shouldn't be pregnant, for example, right? So there's like everyone has specific needs, and we want to make sure that those are catered to in a really intentional way. And so in the onboarding process for all of you, that would be, you will be able to set that up, and you'll be able to pull in your existing, whatever waivers you have, waivers, intake forms, et cetera. Things like the follow-up. So something that's really important to me, when I'm speaking to one of the vendors yesterday, he said something that really clicked. And like SAHA for me is more about longitudinal care. It's about not just getting the person in the door, but continuing to care for them as long as necessary, and making sure that the ease of the systems is there for both you and that person. So in terms of rebooking, in terms of like setting up reminders, like, hey, you haven't set up a follow appointment yet. Those systems can be very automated and don't require you to have a manual hand in the process, because that's something that you shouldn't be wasting your time on. Payment processing. So I know there's different types of payment processing. The standards are usually about 3% just under to process the payment. And then we will be using like likely Stripe. I'm figuring out if we're going to do something else, but some very standard, like non-surprising. All of the ones so far have had the ability to include charting, which I think is really valuable for some people. A provider portal on your end, so you log in and you see all of your appointments. You see like your upcoming appointments, your past appointments, et cetera. And then a client portal with something similar as well. Those are kind of the basics. I know there's a lot more that we could include. The nice to have features I've called out here, things like AI note taking, insurance, to be able to take insurance directly. Super bills is another one that I really want to include by default, but I may be additional add-on or like a close follow. External integrations, so integrations with like different tracking apps. So like think of like an Apple Watch or a Google Watch, or the ability to like set up like different types of journaling systems, et cetera. Those are all nice to haves, but they're not, in my mind, those weren't like the absolute requirement. The other one that I'm feeling fuzzy on is branding. So having the solution say SAHA on it instead of whatever the name of the company is. So those are kind of like what I'm looking at. Would love any feedback on this. If you're like, hey, Alenka, you missed this. This is absolutely necessary. Like, would love your thoughts on that. But also no pressure. You can always email me after too and like say, hey, you missed this piece. I see a lot of smiling and nods. Cool. All right, thanks. I got a heart. I'll take it. So here's the next kind of piece that the comparison. So I think again, I want to build in public. I think it's really good to be transparent. I think it's also a little crazy to do that. So being like, hey, these are the company names that I'm evaluating is a little bit wild, but I would love your thoughts on it. How many of you are familiar with Jane App as like a electronic medical record keeping system? A little bit. Okay. I know it's more common in the acupuncture space and in chiropractic. It has a lot of the functionality that like we need. The problem is it is Jane app specific. The thing that I think is interesting in it is that it includes a lot of the things like potentially insurance buildings. You can do packages, you can do memberships, you can do classes, you can do like integrated outbound fax, which I know for some people is relevant if you're like sending something, if someone's like, hey, can you send this to my doctor, right? Like there's certain things that are applicable there, but it's not necessarily as necessary for this group, I think, of providers that we have as some of the other things. It is labeled Jane app, like I said. The thing that I don't like about it, and I emailed their support, I emailed their partnerships team, they were not willing to do a group discount, meaning it's the pricing that they have listed online. And it works out to thousands of dollars a month just to have providers listed on it. It would work out to about $50 per one of you, to the cost, just the cost to have you listed on it, even if you're not taking any appointments with it, which is still cheaper than I know like some other systems that you might have. But what I was worried about is I don't want to charge you guys to be able to have whatever solution. I don't like that. I don't like, I really feel intentional about like charging per appointment booked, right? Like we've talked about for a long time now. And so I don't like that solution, but I wanted to say, hey, this is the research I've done. This is one of the better ones compared to some of the other things in terms of like the features it offers, and throw it at you and see what you think. Any questions on that before I move to the next one? Okay, cool. So Healthy has a lot of the same things as Jane app, but it does have like a ton of integrations. So it has all of like, you can order labs on it. You can do like the integrations with like Fitbit and MyFitnessPal and like a lot of the other, like it has a huge list of those integrations, which for some of you might be relevant, especially if you're tracking more like food and etc. Like that is relevant to you. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews on it. They do offer a fully branded solution, but it is a lot more expensive. It's actually more expensive than Jane app per month because they do charge, in addition to the branded solution, a cost per provider. And I'm trying to negotiate that down and see if they'll do something custom for us. We'll see. They have the most comprehensive portal. Like it's very custom, like it has absolutely everything you would need, but it's expensive, and I don't think it's usually white labeled. Like I think med spas and other like clinics use it and they put their name on it, but it doesn't support the business model that I want to do with the cost per like the percentage per appointment booked. So throwing that out as like they maybe will come back to me with a really great offer. I'm having a meeting with them actually right after this call. So in about 40 minutes to like walk through what she might suggest, but it is much more dynamic in terms of the offerings than a Jane app is. And it allows for it to say SAHA on it. It allows for us to do things like Jane app doesn't allow to log in with like with what's called a SSO, or like logging in with like your email for a like creating custom. So like, let's say we sign up a company that has 50 employees and we want to assign like those 50 employees now get $500 credits to like spend with whatever SAHA provider they want. We could attach that to that email address for that company. Healthy allows us to do that. Jane app doesn't allow us to do that. So Jane app doesn't scale as much with the corporate agreements as a company like Healthy would. So it's more expensive than the other option. It offers more, but I don't know if that's like super necessary for what we want to do. And then the full white label solution, I'm looking at a company called Vessel Partners. It would be completely branded SAHA. The design is much more modern and clean in terms of like what it includes, but it doesn't include like all of these additional integrations. It doesn't have, it's not as customized in terms of like what we can do, but it's an upfront cost. And then it's a very, very low cost per month, meaning I could do the business model we always wanted to do with this white label solution, right? I could charge only based on appointments booked. So those are kind of like what I'm looking at. They also felt like more of a partner, like they were willing to work with it. Like we really believe in what you're doing and how you're approaching the business model versus the other ones felt like a contract that they were just trying to sign. So that's where I'm I'm learning to lean into my intuition of the people I want to work with and like their ethos and why they care about working with and on what we're working on. And so that's kind of this is the decision I have to make in the next couple of weeks. And I would love your thoughts. Yeah, go for it, Mary.
Yeah, well, what you're saying, the last one sounds more aligned with you. And is it not an option? Like, even though you get started with one, as you grow and you get more popular and you bring in more money for the business and things like that for everyone, couldn't you always then possibly decide to always upgrade into something that gives more? I mean, that could be something to think about. It's like, you don't have to be like completely stuck with this, but it sounds like the last one definitely seems more aligned with your vision, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think aligning with the vision has been like a hard thing to learn. Like even setting up this call, I was like really nervous at the turn of the year. I'm like, I feel so bad. I've like ghosted you guys. I felt horrible. But I was like, I'll leave it for a week. And then I was like, oh yeah, I know what week I need to set up this call on. It was just like I'm learning to listen to that. So I agree with you. I think whatever solution it is, we're going to outgrow it likely, right? We're going to outgrow it and we're going to need to either build from scratch or upgrade to something else. I just want to do that as minimum times as possible because it's going to be a pain for everybody.
Of course, I understand completely.
But no, I agree with you. It's going to be like at one time and then we kind of go from there. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if Ashley, you had words or just hearts that you wanted to share.
Sorry, it took me a minute to get my microphone working. I was going to say the same thing, that I feel like that full white label has everything that you've already touched base on. And basically what Mary said, like we could always upgrade, but I think that that's a good starting point.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. I think the one thing that I'm having a hard time with is also worldwide availability for clients. So that's the other thing that like, this going into Canada specifically. So what I'm thinking is it's like US clients first and then Canada. And then, so it's not that, sorry, and to Megan, because I feel like I might know your point. It's not that you can't do it, but for certain, there are certain regulations for certain types of care across different countries and specifically in Canada across provinces. So that's the only downside of that white label solution, but they've worked in Canada. So they could potentially, we just have to do some tweaking to make it kind of be possible. So Ashley, did you have another point before I jump to Megan?
I was just going to ask if those were the only apps that you were able to reach out to, or if you've researched others. Because what I currently use is very in-depth and has a lot of what you just said, but it's not one of these.
I have done research on others, but I would love to hear about what you use and if you like it.
Okay. I use Practice Better.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love Practice Better. It's just that it doesn't offer what you would offer, like a matchmaking, and to have clients find. Nobody can find you on Practice Better. It's literally just a portal for clients. There's like journaling features. Being a functional nutritionist, that's important for me, for my clients to journal and all of those things. But there's also video chats, and there's charting and your appointments, and it interconnects. Like the integrations there's so many integrations with so many different like wearables for the clients and the patients. The integrations, there's a lot of them, but then for the practitioners, the integrations for different calendaring systems, different payment processors, different things. Like it's very robust, I guess would be the right word.
Yeah.
So.
I briefly looked at them. I can't remember why. I'll look again. I'll take a look and see. I think it might have been if they don't offer, like if the pricing was similar to JNAP in terms of like the cost per provider was high. But let me take a look and see if I can do that. Because yeah, I like all of those integrations, especially for like the types of care that you provide. I was just having a really hard time finding that without it costing like $50 per, because the goal is to have hundreds of providers and maybe not everyone's getting appointments initially, but as we refine, we'll be able to understand like how to target specific and like only bring on providers that we can fill up your calendars. That's just going to take time. And if I don't want it to drain my savings, just have everyone sit on the platform in the meantime. Right. So, But okay, let me take a look at Practice Better. I was looking at a couple of other ones, but I didn't dig into that one. I can't remember why, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Megan, sorry to take so long to get back to you.
No worries. Two things. One, I just wanted to call out, like, I was never, I mean, if you ghosted me, I didn't notice, and I'm never offended. Like, I think anyone who's in a similar field understands like bandwidth, and like if you're not responding, there's a good reason. So just wanted to call it out. And then I'm gonna have to jump a little bit before the hour, so I just wanted, I'm sure you're gonna cover it, but I've a lot of what, I don't even remember what I gave you in terms of my offers. So I would want like an opportunity, and maybe you're still like a year out of needing that again. But I just wondering if you're going to share like a new form or whatever to update things.
Yeah. So that's a good point, actually. Thank you for the transition. So I put together a very brief timeline of kind of what we're looking at, and I'm going to have to jump at the hour too, in terms of what I think the timing is going to be. Right now, what I'm working with is we have the directory on the website needs to be built up from a technical perspective, and the same thing with the provider profile pages. What needs to happen before that is going through, and I know we had talked about it, but going through the provider vetting committee, because like y'all have shown up. That is more than a lot of people can do, right? And I understand that, but there's some basic things that we want to make sure that people, you know, if someone books an appointment with them, they show up to the appointment. Like, they're very basic things like that. There's more than that, but it's important that we go through that, and then we get your profile set up, you set up on all of the systems, et cetera. And I think, Megan, that comes back to your point, is like, you submitted something that was a while ago, but you want to validate it. Don't worry, you will have a chance to make those changes and updates, and then also build out the full profile of your profile page with all of the details of all of your services, because what you submitted is a very small piece. There needs to be more than that for the purposes of the profile pages. So I have the system set up in terms of the steps and what that will look like. I'm going to set up a separate call to go over that and to kind of walk you all through, like, okay, this is what you can expect in terms of the steps for the vetting committee. This is what you can expect after that in terms of setting up your pages. And setting up your profile pages and then getting access to all of the systems. So I'll set up another time for that so that you kind of have an understanding. But that's where I'm thinking right now. It is what it is right now. If you're super concerned about it, or if you want to be removed or put on pause for any reason, because like you're shifting what you're working on, let me know and I can just unpublish what's been posted. But right now I'm not super concerned about it, because I'm not pushing that from it. Like, I'm not concerned that there's a downside for right now. But if you are, please let me know.
Got it. Just one other thing I wanted to mention, as a Canadian, like, I think you should build it so it works well in the US first. I won't be offended if like I can't participate. It's just, there's just so many regulations, etc. So I just wanted to give you that perspective, that as someone who coaches founders on this, you know, build it in a way that it's going to be successful and scalable in one market, and then make decisions to be global.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. I think my intention right now is to make it for the clients to be in the US and for the providers to be global, with the intention of it more accessible both in time zones and in price point as well. And that allows, it's like you said, it's a good starting point. There's a huge market in the US, and then we can expand past that. I didn't realize how many regulations there were per province in Canada. It's pretty gnarly. So which is why JNAP's really good at what they do, because they cater to that, and not a lot of these systems do. Like I spoke with one that like they, Ashley, to your point, they do a lot of they have visibility and they have amazing like profile pages. They don't allow branding for the users, and it was like, it's primarily set up for doctors. So there's like a ton of lab integrations and like for prescriptions. I keep thinking RX, but it's prescriptions for the normal people world. They have all of these like pharmacy integrations and they're like, look at this long list. I'm like, I don't need that for most of my providers. Like, this isn't relevant. And so like, I just spoke with a lot of systems, because we're in such like an in-between space. It's just not everything works for it. And it's been a really interesting journey. I went to a lot of conferences last year, and it's fascinating how people like either do not understand the problem or the solution or are absolutely obsessed. Like there is no gray area. And it's just really interesting. But do you all have any thoughts or feedback on this kind of timeline and what I'm working on and how I'm thinking about it? No? Everyone's so chill.
Because you've got it all locked down. You're so prepared and organized.
Thank you, Mia.
I have a question, and it's from before.
Yeah.
And maybe this is too detailed for now, but I don't use an online booking calendar. I just make my own appointments. Will there be options for that as well?
Yeah, so you'll be able to create appointments. That was really important to me. Some of the systems don't do this, which is wild. Like if you are on an appointment with a client, it's pretty normal to schedule a follow-up appointment that you schedule, right? That the client isn't scheduling. And some of them didn't allow for that. And I'm like, that I got into some really interesting conversations with salespeople where I pointed out some pretty big gaps in their features. But that one was important for me too, because it needs to be flexible enough that you can choose whether or not you are setting up the appointments, right? So like one of the things is like, I want to be able to allow people to apply to work with you. Because like not everyone is a good fit for everyone. And I've seen some really thought out intake forms from providers where they're like, I need you to be willing to do whatever it is. Because if you're not like, I can't think of a good example for you, but for like Ashley, if you're not willing to change like aspects of your eating behaviors, then like I can't really help you, right? Like those are the types of things that we need to like consider. And like, and that's part of why the matchmaking is valuable, is like, if you're not ready to change your life, you just need someone to comfort you in your acute symptoms. That's a very different provider than someone who's going to change your life with you. And so making sure that we have that alignment, but also you're probably going to want intake forms as well for that. So yes, we're accounting for that as well. Details are good. Give me all the details. I want them, because the details is where, you know, things break up and get really messy. So the more we can address them sooner, the better. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we don't have comments on this. One thing I'm going to add, I'm going to talk about it in a second as well. So there's different ways you can launch, right? We can do a soft launch where we just basically have everyone live and we're testing it and validating it, which we probably will do for a short period of time, just to make sure, like when you press on a button to book a provider, that provider's booking page pops up, right? Those types of things work and are functional. And then like in terms of a larger launch, kind of what I'm looking at, I didn't include it in here because I am working on the side, but I want to start with a referral system in terms of working with other groups of providers to refer clients that they can't serve to us. So like therapist networks, for example, they might need someone who does nutrition or someone who does breath work, or you know what I mean? Like other things that they just don't serve. So referring them in and having an agreement, a partnership agreement with them. Is one of the things I'm working on for launch. So I have a conversation with like a coaching network that includes things like financial coaching and other things, right? It's not just coaching for your health. And so working on partnerships. If you have any partnerships or people that you know that run either these organizations or groups, et cetera, I would love to chat with them, because I think it's really important to create that kind of support across the board. And it's much more valuable in terms of spending our time doing those types of things than like I was spending an hour a day on Instagram creating content a year ago. And that's just not sustainable anymore if I'm going to continue to be building. So creating these types of partnerships is much more effective, and having kind of a referral system for it. I'm also going to talk about it in further conversations, but creating an internal referral system. So if you refer someone to SAHA and they end up booking, you'll get paid for it. So even if they don't book with you, or, you know, like we're building a community where it's all beneficial for us to kind of bring people in, and then whoever they book with, you get money back for that. So I'm working on that. If you are available, have the bandwidth, any help with those partners, like finding groups of, like it could be, I'm thinking of Taryn and like retreat networks, and like those like people who organize retreats are a great example of like someone who might be interested in like help referring us out. there is not limitations to what this looks like. It is up to our creativity to see like what types of people we can bring in. And then the other thing in that, the second piece of this towards the end of the year, and I'm starting on working on it now, is bringing in those companies that want to bring this as a benefit for their employees. Obviously, those contracts take a lot more time, but I'm working on it for this coming benefit cycle. So we start to have the conversations now, and the goal is to have a few companies. And the benefit of building the way that we are now in terms of using these third-party systems is I don't need to cover the cost of building the thing from scratch. So I can offer this to companies that are really small. I can do this for companies of like 5 people plus and offer it as a benefit for their employees, versus before I needed to do like 50 to 100 employees at a minimum. So now I can do a smaller group. So if there's anyone you can think of that this might be a good fit for, I would love an introduction. So this is my ask. So introductions to potential partners, to employers who might be interested in offering this. And then as always, providers who might want to sign up if you have the bandwidth. But yeah, that was the summary of what I wanted to go over, and I would love feedback and thoughts from all of you.
Do you have anything I could give to other providers if I bring this up? Like the providers that I have relationships with now, if I were to tell them, hey, you can use this as a benefit for your employees, do you have any information I could give them on it?
Yeah.
That you could like send out?
Let me stop sharing. I actually created a web page for this, and it's online on SAHA. Give me a second. So, and I'm going to actually share my screen. I am logged into WordPress on the back end, so that's why you get like the weird thing bar at the top here. But there's a button here for employees. I'll send the link in here as well. And it kind of walks through what the benefit is for your employees and how it works. And then like to set up a call with me and like what is different about SAHA versus traditional insurance, and all of the rest of this. I was doing things last year. I just wasn't sharing it with you guys. So yeah, I also have this in a brochure form. So if you want me to send you an email with a PDF, I'm happy to do that as well. But
that would be great, because I know I have some practitioners that I could just hand the brochure to and they'd be like, awesome, thanks. And instead of looking online, because like I work with a few chiropractors that they don't like the internet very much, but they'll use it if they have to. But when it comes to working with other people, they're like, oh, I have to join that, I will. But if they have to do research on their own on the internet, they're like, oh, I'm out.
Okay, I will send an email to you at least, Ashley, if there's anyone else who wants to be on that as well, with the brochure.
Thank you.
I can also send you the Canva if it's easier to download it, but thank you. I appreciate that you were offering. So that's amazing. And thank you, Megan, for the intro. That would be amazing. Anyone who's a decision maker at a company, it could be someone in HR, it could be is someone like a C-level executive. It's just, if you know that they are passionate about that type of thing. The research that I'm doing is hard because like people don't generally post about this aspect of their personal lives. So it's really hard to know if they like would be interested in it or not. There are other ways to get that. And I am working on kind of building out that sales funnel, but intros are always better. So I am choosing to ask and be more vulnerable in like the needs that we have as SAHA as a whole. So yeah, that was the summary of what I really wanted to show you all and get your feedback on. And I think I've found this to be really helpful, but I want to make sure that there is space to give you more time to ask questions, because I know I talk quickly. So
I have a question, if that's okay. I still don't understand the business model. This is kind of like what EAP companies offer. What I'm just curious how you're doing this.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm taking a note to make sure I send this to everybody. Okay, so the way I'm doing this, I really want to make sure, and I spent a lot of time researching what exists out there and talking to a lot of providers about their pain points. And if you have ones that I'm not addressing, I want to hear about it. The biggest thing is it costs a lot of money to just set up your practice and when I say it costs a lot of money, it could just be like a few subscriptions a month for like Zoom, for note taking, you know what I mean, to be able to do all those things, and they add up. And that doesn't mean you're getting clients in the door. So it could be a sunk cost that you are not like, it's just a frustrating thing to do. I think that's one piece of it, is all of the admin, the access to tools you need, especially if you're doing anything virtual, but also if you're not, right? If you're doing in-person services, you often do need some way to chart, to communicate, etc. That's one piece of it. The second piece of it is providers I've spoken to, when I ask, about 30 to 80% of their time is trying to acquire new clients. This is a muscle that no one taught you in school, because you were educated to do the thing that you do best, which is care for people. And then you leave and they're like, well, have fun and figure out how to start a business. And it's kind of like, I find, and this is not true for everyone, but in general, when your genius zone is caring for people, it could also be building a business and dealing with the acquisition side of it, but that could also be very draining. That could take a lot of your energy away and a lot of your time away from actually being present with your patients and with your clients. So my goal is to address both of those things with SAHA. So address the admin overhead, both in a cost and in a time perspective, and the acquisition piece in terms of getting people in the door to you. I say that to say, and I'm getting back to your point about this, I don't think it's fair to charge to be listed on the platform and not get you clients in the door. I've seen it across the board. I think the price point I've seen pretty consistently is about $600 a year. And it's either you're charged to be listed and you may or may not get clients in the door, or it's a VC-backed company and they charge the client like over $100, $150. I'm thinking, I was given the example of Strawberry earlier this week, where they charged the clients like $140 and the practitioner makes $40 an hour. And I see this with BetterHelp. I see it with a lot of other places, that they are charging obscene amounts to the client and you get paid basically nothing, compared to, like, you're getting at least 60% of what you would be making taken away. And I'm just like, either of those business models ethically don't feel okay for me. And so what I'm trying to do is different. It means that it's a higher risk for me. And I think that's why people don't do it, where I get a lot more providers on board. Matchmaking obviously is different. No one's doing it, but you are only being charged for the appointments that you book. Meaning, I get you someone in the door, you set your prices. You set whatever price you want for whatever services you're offering. When the payment goes through, right now what I'm modeling it at is I take 18% of what is being paid. 2% of that goes towards a fund for people who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford services. I'm building out a nonprofit arm, and so that deposits into that nonprofit. And then when people need access to care, but they can't afford it, we go through an application process, and then we use that fund to pay for that. So you are still getting the same rate, no matter who you're seeing. And then the rest of that goes to like the actual, like a Stripe or whatever payment process we're doing. It goes to the cost of marketing, the cost of operations, etc. So that's kind of the model that I want to build. It's easier when it's just me and like some contractors, right? It's not like a full team. It's not like it's easier to do. It feels more ethically aligned with how I want to build. But I could talk about this for a really long time. But does that answer your question?
Thanks. I didn't want to interrupt you. That's helpful. That's a refresher. But I was actually asking on the other side, what are you doing with the companies that you're speaking with? I was curious what your model is and how you're partnering. What does that mean, partnering with them?
Different in each scenario. So in the Jane app model, I try to reach out to do, like, you usually want to, at this scale, at this many providers, you want to have a specific agreement with the company, because you want some sort of more hands-on touch points, right? If there's anything wrong with the platform, if we have issues, like, we are bringing them a lot more providers, you want that high touch point relationship. Jane app didn't offer that to me. I tried to reach out with their partnerships. They went emails back and forth, which was really interesting, because normally they get on a call with you at the scale, but it's like, okay, that's how you want, that's cool. So that was them. Healthy, I am working. So they charged a monthly rate as well as some setup fees. That was exorbitant. It was thousands of dollars just to have things set up. And that's not including like the ongoing costs, which when I read the reviews, I saw that as well. So I told them like, hey, if you want to be competitive, we need to go negotiate something else. So I gave them some of my projections in terms of numbers, and I have a call with them in 10 minutes to see what they're going to come with. So that's where I'm going with that. In terms of the white label solution I'm looking at, they have an upfront setup cost, which is like thousands of dollars. So it's higher, but it allows us to be a lot more custom. And then it's a very low monthly rate. So that one I was like, I can afford to do the business model I want to do. That low monthly rate is doable. They're all a little bit different in terms of setting up the like online directory and provider pages. Those are one-time costs with like a designer and a web developer. So they're all a little different. I'm curious to see when I dig into Practice Better what that one looks like. But we'll see. Everyone's a little, it's a little different experience. So does that answer your question?
Sorry.
That's okay.
So you're selling SAHA to companies so that they can offer the benefit. I'm actually wondering from that model. Sorry, not
everything.
centered on what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
who SAHA is selling to, and what are you selling?
Yeah,
to-
no, so as a benefit for employees is specifically what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. You're giving me a chance to ramble though. Thank you for that. Okay. So for the companies that we're selling to, so basically a lot of providers that are helpful to employees are not covered by any sort of benefits that the employer is offering, right? Or some of them, like there's a new thing where you'll like BetterHelp is doing a lot of like therapy direct to, there's a couple other companies that offer just employer therapy access. There's like Carrot that does fertility. There's very specific, they're all modality specific though. They offer, generally speaking, like you can get health coaching, you can get like a nutritionist, but they're modality specific. What we're offering is the same system in the sense that you as a company pay X amount of dollars and you now have access to this for your employees, but the employee can use it for whatever type of provider they find most useful to them. So instead of spending money on a therapy platform that may or may not be used by your employees, you're spending money on a platform that one employee could get an at-home massage, another one might get a nutritional coach, another one might have acupuncture, someone else might do breath work. It gives them more variety, and the goal is to have more access to more types of services. I've also outlined on that brochure that I'll send out what the benefits are for the employer, right? When we talk about things like burnout, nobody likes to hear that from an employer perspective, but if you want to talk about things like employee productivity, turnover, the cost, so the more that benefits are used, like traditional insurance in the US, the more that someone uses it, those premiums can go up the next year because they've been more used. If we can treat someone with a more like underlying issues, right, that are going on, they may not have to go to the doctor to get those cortisol injections in their jaw, right? If we're able to help them with a lot of the stress, so then their premiums aren't going to go up. So what we're looking is to kind of take care of the employees in a more holistic way to help the company in many different ways. Thank you for letting me ramble again.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
I finally answered your question.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I keep thinking about, because I think a lot of times I used to work in employee assistance as a therapist, and they always limit the number of sessions, and so it gets me thinking about like, okay, what would this mean in terms of what I'm offering at SAHA out of everything that I do? Because a lot of companies are not going to be like, well, do really long-term work at a really high cost with a provider, which is my main work, really. So that's really helpful to get to know more and more about what SAHA is targeting in terms of the work, and how do I think of my own work and my offering as a doorway into what I actually do. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the way that I positioned it, but I'm very flexible in the way I'm talking to companies about it, is we would give X dollar amount of credits to use at their discretion. We could do it attached to an employee. We could make it a pool, right? So that it's more used effectively. And then when we're, at a certain point where you might run out, then like we can re-up, right? Those are all conversations that we can have. But right now it's a bit of an experiment in that we're not sure what the best way is to do it. So let's have that conversation. And then I think the other thing that I'm really excited about is to build case studies around how effective it is to have SAHA on board for your employees. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Alenka.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry about not getting to it right away. Apologies. Yeah, we have 5 minutes left. I had a feeling we would go pretty close to the edge with this because there were so many updates, but I wanted to leave space for any other questions that anyone had.
No questions here, but I just wanted to say that I appreciate you keeping us all updated on the process and the progress. And it's nice to see all the faces again here, and super just appreciate your vision, as others have said, and your commitment to really creating something meaningful and with the ethics I think that we all share. So yeah, I really appreciate that and appreciate your time as always. And I'll also see you at the Founders Lunch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm sad that that'll be my second last one for a while, but it'll be nice to see you in person. Thank you so much, Mia. I appreciate it. I am going to set up more calls like this with updates. So I'll set up a conversation to talk about more of the referrals and the vetting process that we're kind of planning on, because I want people's opinions. I want people's thoughts on what we do, we are aligned with and we're not aligned with, because like I believe that people can have bad habits straight out of school and 20 years in, right? And that those aren't right. Like I think I think that it's really important to get everybody on board, and I think being a SAHA provider should mean something. And so I want to make sure that we're all aligned in terms of what that means and what that looks like. But yeah, if you have any questions about anything, if you didn't feel like you were able to address it, you're always welcome to message me or set up time. Yes, Taryn.
Sorry, I know we're coming close to time. Do you have any info that I could give other potential providers, or yeah, that would be great. If you do have something.
So there is a page on the website for that as well.
Okay.
I don't have the brochure though.
That's fine. I can send them to the website. That's great.
Yeah, I have a page on the website. I have to look and see if I don't think I've updated the FAQ in a minute. So that's on my to-do list. But yeah, providers, I think specifically the gap that we're going to have right now is therapists. I think that's going to be the biggest gap, but I'm going to do an analysis of everyone who signed up and see what we need to address most.
Okay. And I just want to, touch on what Mia was saying, like, appreciate you and all of this. I can only imagine how much hard work this is, and to keep at it and to keep us in the loop, and your transparency and your integrity. I'm so grateful. So thank you. And I know it's going to be amazing.
Thank you. Gonna make it again. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to have your support. And when people are like, how's it going? I'm like, I don't think you understand the incredible people that are supporting us on this journey and like building it together. It's a really special.
Grateful to be a part of it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Ashley, I saw you came off mute. I wanted to give you an opportunity before
I just wanted to say thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for including me. And if you only knew how excited I was to get the invite to this meeting the other day, I was like, oh, SAHA is happening.
Yeah.
So I did notice the silence, but thank you for keeping us in the loop.
Yeah, I didn't want to drag you through the drama of my life. I don't need to, but it is happening. It's been on my mind. It's just, I didn't have the capacity for a second, but I did make some VC money at a company. So I'm just using that and feeding it back in. But,
Love it.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah. But I'm really excited about this, and it's moving. Things are moving fast. Things are moving really fast. So to the point where I'm worried I'm not keeping up. But I'm excited.
You got this.
Thank you, thank you. All right, I'm sending you guys all of the hugs and happy tears.
Yes. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.